and today I'm bringing you a very easy to follow and simple tutorial on how to set up your own parse server that you can use just like you would the parse hosted version, because parse will be closing down soon. That's why you're in this video. But this is a very easy to follow tutorial. You don't have to know anything about coding, Xcode, any of that stuff, Swift, to learn how to do this. It's very simple and it's very cool. So let's go ahead and open up Xcode. If you don't have Xcode, it's easy to install. Just go to the App Store and download it, and there should be easy setup. Now we're going to go ahead and create a new Xcode project. We're going to go ahead and do a iOS application, single view application. We're going to go over and do next. We're going to go ahead and just name this parse server test, or I'm going to say tutorial. What's in these fields doesn't matter. That's just your stuff. We're not using core data, Swift Universal. Next. And give it a second to create everything. We're just going to store it on the desktop. Create. And you'll see right here. Let's create it on the desktop. And here we go. Now that we've got this loaded up, we're going to install everything that we need so that the parse SDK functions properly. Going to go ahead and go over to my Safari, and right here is the screen where parse tells you how to set it up. I'll leave that link in the description for you guys to go ahead and open up and follow along. So first you're going to download and unzip the SDK. So basically click download right here. Should show up in your downloads, either down here or up in the Safari downloader. Once it's finished downloading, go ahead and click it. I'm going to drag it over across my different screens onto the desktop. And now that you see that, we're going to go ahead and click back over here, and we're going to go into the parse library and drag over the bolts framework and the parse framework. We're going to highlight those, click and drag over, and we're going to drag them right under the parse server tutorial title. Make sure that you select copy items if needed, and that the target is parse server tutorial. Finish. Now we have added the parse and the bolts framework. Now we need to add the dependencies. So click right here at the top. Going to go over to linked frameworks and libraries. I'm going to click add, and let's see what we need. Scroll down a little bit. We're going to need the audio toolbox framework, CFN network framework, and core graphics. So let's go over. We're going to do, look for it. It's in alphabet. It is in order that they gave you. Going to select that. Going to scroll down. We're going to command CFN network, and I believe, was it core graphics? Yes. Now we're going to need core location, Quartz core, and security. So keep going. Core location. Quartz core is down a little bit, I believe. You can also just search these up here if you like. Scroll down. Let's look for Quartz core and security framework. Now we need store kit and system configuration. Store kit and system configuration. I'm going to go ahead and add those because we're going to need to search for the others. So now we're going to need libs.tbd and libsqlite3.tbd. So let's go ahead and search libs.tbd. Going to add that. Scroll down. We're going to add libsqlite3.tbd and add that. Now we are all set up with the parse SDK within our project. And I prefer this way to CocoaPods. CocoaPods can get a little bit complicated, and there's some issues with it sometimes. So I prefer to just do it the manual way, but it is your choice. Now we go over to the app delegate, and let's go ahead and scroll down back here over on the Safari. Let's go ahead and, all right, let's take a break real quick. Now we've got our parse SDK and everything installed into our Xcode project, so that we can use the parse SDKs and do all the cool stuff that parse lets you do. Now we need to set up our server. So let's go over to GitHub. You can just go ahead and search, github.com. And if you don't have an account, go ahead and create one, sign in. It's really simple and easy. It's free. And now we're going to search. I'm just going to go ahead and redo it up here. Go to Google. It'll leave you signed into GitHub, and I'm going to search parse server. Whoops. Parse-server example GitHub. Search that. Doesn't even have to be spelled right. It's okay. And here you go. Should be the top example. I'll also leave a link in the description for you guys. Now here is parse's it's a server. It's a parse server example. It's a parse server and their example for it. But we're just going to go ahead and use it. Make sure you're signed in. We're going to go ahead and click fork in the top right, which basically is making us a copy that we can work with, that we can change, do whatever we want to. You'll see up here, Mitchell12, it'll say your username / parse server example. That's great. So now we need to scroll down and go deploy to Heroku. You can just click that, but I'm going to go ahead and right click it and say open link in new tab so it doesn't take us off this page. We're going to go over here. It'll have you create an account if you haven't. If you do have one, sign in, and it should be really simple. And actually, just made a mistake right here. You don't want to open the link in the new tab. You want to just click it. That will just give you errors. So now it's going to take me off my GitHub screen, but that's okay. Now we've got all the things we need. I'm going to go ahead and use your app name. I'm going to name it parse-server tutorial. Oh, that's not available. Tutorial 2. That's available. Now we're going to leave this field alone, the parse mount, my app ID. Going to type in some random stuff. Once you were to actually create an app, you'd want to make these very complicated lowercase capital letters, numbers, all that good stuff so nobody could guess it and have access to your files. But at this point, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to just go ahead and type some stuff in. And then your app name.herokuapp.com. What's our app name? It's parse-server-tutorial2. We're going to Command-C copy that, come down, replace your app name. We're going to Command-V to paste, parse-server-tutorial2.herokuapp.com or herokuapp.herokuapp.com/parse. Now we're going to deploy for free. Now you'll see down here, it's building our app. And this can take a couple minutes, but this right here basically means it's building our parse server. It's setting everything up for us, and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and let that finish. Alrighty, here we go. Now we're going to go ahead and click View, which will show us our app on a website. I dream of being a website. If it says that, you know you're good. So let's go ahead and exit out of this, and now we're going to go to Manage App. And this is where we connect our server to our app in Xcode. We're going to go over to Settings right here. We're going to click Reveal Configure Vars. Now we're going to go back over here to our Quick Start Parse Guide and connect our app to the parse server. This is an app delegate of our Swift file, and so we're going to copyright this right here, not that, this. We're going to Command-C to copy, which is connecting the app to parse. We're going to go over into the view, into the app did finish launching with options, which basically means this will be run whenever the app finishes loading up. And you'll notice it's going to give us some errors because we have not imported parse and bolts. So import parse, enter import bolts, and you'll notice it should fix up. Now we need to add a field that they don't have. So we're going to go ahead and click #0 dot client key equals open close quotations. Now we're going to go over here back to Safari. Going to get our app ID, Command-C to copy. Your app ID, replace it with this. Now we're going to do master key, Command-C to copy. Actually, my app ID looks like my computer is lagging a little bit. Alrighty, sorry about that. It did end up pasting in. So now we've copied our master key. We're going to go ahead and Command-V paste that into the client key, and then the server is not this URL. We want to click open app, see this up here, Then we're going to click on it and add /parse, which was our mounting path if you had seen it when we set it up. Now we're going to Command C to copy that and paste this into our server. Now, basically, whenever the app opens up, it's going to connect to our app that we have set up on the client side, which was deployed through Heroku or with our GitHub repo that we forked. Going to go into View Controller, and the view did load. Let's drop down a little bit and come over here back to our Quick Start Parse Guide. Let's go ahead and test the SDK and make sure everything works all right. So we're going to highlight all this right here, copy it over, real easy, Command C to copy, and the view did load. Let's go ahead and Command V to paste. And this is basically saying it's going to create a class named test object and put bar in the class foo inside the class test object. So let's go ahead and import parse so we get rid of this error and it's all good. You will need to import this to the top of every file that you use it in. So now there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a test run on our simulator, change it to iPhone 6 just because that's what I like to run my stuff on. Go ahead and click run, and sometimes this can take a while. Simulator can be very slow. Sometimes it'll bug up and freeze and you'll need to quit Xcode and simulator and try and run it again, and sometimes it can take 3 to 4 minutes before it will compile and run. So just be patient with it, and whenever it loads up, we'll see. And before I forget, you need to make sure that all these panes are shown in this top right so that you have this bottom pane with the logs, and that you see how that right there, this is where all our information is going to be. So make sure you can see that right window in the bottom pane. So we'll see the little spinning wheel, which means that it is connecting to the internet, it is connecting to parse. So whenever you see that, that's when you're going to know it connected. And if we get object has been saved in our logs, then that means this was successful and the object was saved. So we're just going to give it its time to get going. See whenever we get that spinning wheel. This basically means that it still hasn't loaded up. It looks like the app is opened, but it really hasn't. It's getting everything started, but it hasn't loaded. Alrighty, we see the spinning wheel. We see object has been saved, so it was successful. The app has been connected to parse, and if we want to see that object, we'll go over to our Heroku. We're going to click over into the overview of inside our app, and we're going to click on MLab MongoDB, which is what hosts all the data. Now, it is kind of complicated to have a GitHub repo that's deployed through Heroku that's a parse server, and the data is hosted on MLab. And it seems complicated at first, but it's really not bad. So now we'll see we're in collections, test object. So that class was just created. We created it, foo bar, just like we did over here. And so it is successful. Now you can create users with passwords, do whatever you want to do, use all of the great parse features within your app, and it's a parse server that you can keep. It won't be shutting down in January of 2017. So I hope you guys like this tutorial. I'll be bringing you some more videos very soon. If you liked it, I would appreciate it if you guys would give me a thumbs up and maybe a comment